And just like that, if of course you step out of line on this particular show, well, seemingly you'll be fired. As ever, let me explain. Morning chums, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And as ever, thank you for your company. Welcome one and all brand new subscribers. Now, oh, sorry, I know you're going to tell me off. We haven't had a wave, are we? Nice to see you. Thank you so much. I get engrossed in these stories, you know. I've met all of the cast of that particular show, just like that. I don't know about you. I think that they should have just stuck with the same original title of Sex and the City, one of the biggest shows, of course, in the early noughties. And it's funny, isn't it, to think that it inspired so many things, fashion, album, music, all that sort of stuff. Everybody was associated with it did incredibly well. Now, as I said, I've met most of the stars of that show. And Sarah Jessica Parker, it's interesting because the thing that I find really strange is that if you've got a combination that works and you know that the combination is a winning streak, you stick with it. And the most popular character was, of course, Saucy Sam, played by the beautiful Kim Cattrall. And as everybody knows, Kim and Sarah Jessica Parker literally fell out. You know, they can dress it up any way they want, but she was very vocal about why they fell out and, you know, didn't necessarily want Sarah Jessica's allegedly fake sympathy. It all truly escalated. I remember meeting the lady who plays Charlotte, as you can see from the picture, when she came over to do a sort of play, I think it was at the Riverside Studios in London, and she at that point was very nervous about talking about on-set problems. Oh yes, I have a good memory and it's all on tape. But what's fascinating is, you know, you look at it now, it's come back and everybody thinks, well, it's not very good, and you've got Rosie O'Donnell in there. You just kind of think, no, part of the fun, and it's simply this, is the fact that, you know, there they were, very sort of vibrant young women at the time, having their time of their lives in New York City. But honestly, did anybody believe that Sarah Jessica Parker could literally live in such a fabulous place with all of those frocks and outfits from simply writing one column a week, which she never finished, can we also point out. You never saw finishing the column, did you? You know, she started it out with the Mac and the laptop, and then that was it. She just didn't finish the thing. Never understood it. To me, always looked like she was auditioning for a Barbara Streisand lookalike contest. Never really understood the power of why she was such a fashionista. And it's interesting to note as well, because as I said, I met Sarah Jessica a few times now, but the last time was when she came over to London to support her husband, Matthew Broderick, in a play that he was appearing in. Didn't go for long. The Starry Messenger, right? Alongside somebody who was in Downton Abbey. And it tells you everything about the person, in fact, because it was a very hot afternoon, supposed to go and, you know, interview him. We get to the theatre and he eventually turns up and says, oh, I need a cup of coffee. And he just gets up, walks off, and goes to get himself a cup of coffee. Never once did he say to me or the cameraman, would you like anything? Nothing. Tells you everything you need to know about someone, right? I could never do that. I'm sure you'd be the same. You'd think, let's just see, do they want a cold drink or anything? Boiling hot day, nothing. That night, on the opening night, his wife, Sarah Jessica, turned up, and she turned up with her best pal, apparently, Andy Cohen. Met him, total scruff. You would never notice him at all. Just completely insignificant, and I don't mean that in an unkind way, but I just knew he was because I work in America. But the thing was, he was only keen to get pictured with Graham Norton because he was trying to get that What Happens Next show, and so that was his objective. This is what goes on behind the scenes, right? And what's fascinating to see is this. You see, according to a very well-placed source, because I have many on that show, nobody is allowed to even breathe a word about Kim Cattrall. If you remember on the last series, they faked up a sort of chat with each other on the phone, never meeting in person, and, you know, it cost a lot of money to get Kim back, even just for the cameo. You see, Sarah Jessica Parker is the executive producer of the show, so she has a final say on storylines, how things are shot, what she's prepared to do, how they all evolve and come out. And a soul said to me that, truly, if you go in there, because we were offered press junkets and all sorts of stuff, and if anybody says, would you be bringing Sam back, even if they just answered and said, I don't know, you'd have to speak to the producers, it could be a very precarious, thin line. Now, you see, Sarah Jessica Parker thought there was going to be Sex and the City 3 movie. They never planned to come back to the TV. The idea was this was going to take off and it was going to be big and all that sort of stuff. But it bombed, the second film bombed at the box office. So she had to return to TV. She's an incredibly wealthy woman, right? And doesn't need to work whatsoever. She wants to work and that's good for her. Her shoe line has now collapsed after 10 years or closed down, whichever way you want to look at it. But for those that are saying, did the girls get on behind the scenes? Let me tell you, they were all individual, all very ambitious, but all very frightened of one, SJP. The only one that wasn't was the one that didn't return, Kim Cattrall. Now, anything else you need to know? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.